Jake Morrison floated in the command chair of his patrol ship, watching the stars through the main window. He had been out here for 3 months, leading a small group of 12 Earth ships on a routine patrol mission. The edge of the solar system. It was quiet just like always. Nothing ever happened out here. Jake was a simple man from Texas who joined the Space Navy 5 years ago. He liked the peaceful patrols because they gave him time to think about his family back on Earth, his wife. Linda was probably making dinner right now, and his 2 kids were doing their homework. He smiled at the thought. "Captain Morrison, we're getting some strange readings on the sensors," said Lieutenant Ben Carter from his station. Ben was young and nervous, fresh out of the academy. This was his first deep space mission. "What kind of readings?" Jake asked, floating over to look at the screen. "Big ships, sir, really big. I've never seen anything like them." Jake looked at the sensor display and felt his heart skip a beat. 12 massive objects were moving toward them from outside the solar system. Each one was at least 10 times bigger than his ship. He had never seen anything like them either. "Sound the alert," Jake said calmly. "Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have visitors." The alarm bells started ringing throughout the small fleet. Jake opened a communication channel to all his ships. "This is Morrison. Everyone stay calm and follow my lead. We don't know what these things want yet." The alien ships moved closer. They were shaped like long triangles with smooth, dark surfaces that seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols glowed along their sides. Jake counted them again. 12 alien ships facing his 12 human ships. At least the numbers were even if the size difference was huge. A voice suddenly filled Jake's bridge, speaking perfect English but with a strange accent. "Human vessels, this is War Prime Kelthic of the Zephyrian Galactic Empire. You will surrender immediately and prepare to receive our diplomatic team." Jake looked at his crew. They all stared back at him, waiting for orders. He had trained for this moment his whole career, but it still felt unreal. First contact with aliens, and they were demanding surrender right away. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force," he replied. "We're willing to talk, but we don't surrender to anyone. If you want to meet, we can arrange something." Peaceful. There was a long silence. Then Kelthek spoke again, his voice colder now. "Humans, you do not understand your situation. The Zephyrian Empire controls over 10,000 star systems. We have conquered hundreds of species. You will submit to our authority or face the consequences." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. Nobody talked to humans like that. "Listen here, Kelthek, we humans don't take orders from anyone. If you want to fight, you'll get one." The alien ships suddenly started moving faster, spreading out in an attack formation. Jake had seen this pattern in training simulations. They were preparing to fight. "All ships, combat positions," Jake ordered. "Remember your training. Stay close and watch each other's backs." The first alien ship fired a bright blue beam that barely missed Jake's vessel. The energy blast was so powerful it made the space around them glow. Jake realized these aliens had weapons far more advanced than anything Earth had ever built. "Return fire!" Jake shouted. The human ships shot back with their missile systems and laser cannons. Their weapons seemed tiny compared to the alien beams, but they were all they had. The battle started in earnest. Lieutenant Carter was working frantically at his station. "Captain, I'm trying to get a message through to Earth, but something is blocking our communications." "Keep trying," Jake said as another alien beam shot past them. "Earth Command needs to know what's happening." The fight continued for 20 minutes. The human ships were faster and could dodge most of the alien attacks, but their weapons barely scratched the alien ship's armor. Jake watched in horror as 3 of his ships were destroyed by the powerful blue beams. "We can't win this." "Fight," said Commander Sue Walsh over the radio. She was leading 4 ships on the left flank. "These things are too strong." Jake knew she was right. The aliens were just playing with them. If they wanted to destroy the human fleet completely, they probably could have done it already. But something was holding them back. "All ships begin." "Retreat," Jake ordered. "Fall back toward Earth. Make it look like we're running scared." As the human ships turned and fled, Jake heard Kelthik laughing over the communication channel. Run, little humans, we will find your homeworld soon enough. The surviving 9 human ships raced back toward Earth, with the alien vessels following at a distance. Jake used the time to finally get a message through to Earth Command. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez appeared on his screen. She was a tough woman from California who had been running Earth's space defenses for 10 years. Jake, what's your status? We've made contact with hostile aliens, Admiral. They call themselves the Zephyrian Empire. They're demanding we surrender, and they have weapons way more advanced than ours. We lost 3 ships in the first fight. Lisa's face remained calm, but Jake could see the worry in her eyes. How many ships do they have? 12 big ones that we've seen. But they're talking about controlling thousands of star systems. This might be just a small group. Understood. Bring your ships back to Earth immediately. We'll prepare our defenses. Jake cut the communication and looked at his remaining crew. They all looked scared and confused. Ben Carter was shaking as he worked at his station. Sir, what do we do now? Ben asked. We go home and get ready for a real fight, Jake said. And we hope our weapons are good enough. But Jake was already thinking about the bigger picture. Earth's entire space navy only had about 40 ships total. If the aliens really controlled thousands of star systems, how many ships did they have? Hundreds? Thousands? As they flew back toward Earth, Jake watched the alien ships following them. Kelthek seemed confident that the humans were beaten. The alien commander probably thought this small patrol was the best Earth could offer. Jake almost smiled at that thought. If the aliens wanted to underestimate humans, that was their mistake. He had heard rumors about secret projects and hidden shipyards, but he never paid much attention to them. Now he hoped those rumors were true. When they reached Earth, Jake saw the defense fleet waiting for them. 37 ships hung in space around the planet, including the big flagship commanded by Captain Ryan Hayes. It was an impressive sight. But Jake wondered if it would be enough. Admiral Rodriguez met with all the ship captains in a secure conference room on the orbital defense station. She looked tired but determined. Gentlemen and ladies, we're facing the biggest threat in human history. These Zephyrians have technology we've never seen before, and they seem to think we're just another primitive species they can conquer easily. Captain Hayes, a veteran commander from New York, spoke up. What are our orders, Admiral? We fight with everything we have. This is our home, and we're not giving it up without a battle. All ships will take defensive positions around Earth. If they want our planet, they'll have to come through us. Jake looked around the room at his fellow captains. They were all good people, brave and ready to fight. But he still worried it wouldn't be enough. The aliens seemed so confident, so sure of their victory. Little did Jake know that the real surprise was yet to come. 3 months had passed since the first battle with the Zephyrian Empire. War Prime Kelthek sat in his command ship, reading reports from his scouts. The humans were acting exactly as he expected. They were scrambling to rebuild their tiny fleet, and seemed desperate to defend their home world. Kelthek was a veteran commander, who had conquered 47 different species during his long career. He knew the signs of a weak civilization trying to prepare for war. The humans showed all. The classic behaviors: panic, rushed construction, and poor resource management. Sir, our spies report that the humans are building new ships, but very slowly, said his aide, a young Zephyrian officer named Vorthak. Their largest shipyard can only produce 2 vessels per month. Kelthek nodded with satisfaction. As expected. These primitives lack the industrial capacity for real military production. How many ships do they have now? 43 operational vessels, sir. They lost 3 more in training accidents last week, the War Prime laughed. Training accidents were another sign of a desperate, inexperienced military. Excellent. Continue monitoring their progress. I want to know about every ship they build. Down on Earth, Colonel Danny Wright was having a very different conversation. He sat in a hidden bunker deep underground, speaking with Resistance Cell leaders from around the world. The room was filled with men and women who all shared the same secret. They were part of the greatest military deception in human history. The aliens are watching our shipyards constantly, Danny said to the group. We need to make sure they see exactly what we want them to see. Captain Amy Foster, a pilot from Ohio, raised her hand. My team has been running fake supply missions to the construction sites. The alien scouts follow us every time. They're definitely taking notes on our cargo capacity and building materials, Danny smiled. Amy was perfect for this job because she was naturally good at acting. The aliens watched her fly slow, outdated transport ships and assumed all human vessels were equally primitive. Good work, Amy. What about the weapons testing? Dr. Peter Johnson, a scientist from Boston, spoke up from his corner of the room. We've been staging failed experiments twice a week. Yesterday we made it look like our new missile exploded during launch. The alien spies were watching from only a few miles away. The group laughed quietly. Peter had been having fun with his fake failures. He was actually one of Earth's most brilliant weapons designers, but the aliens thought he was an incompetent scientist who couldn't build working equipment. Remember, everyone, Danny said seriously, this only works if we all stick to the plan. The aliens must believe that our visible fleet is everything we have. No one can know the truth except the people in this room. Meanwhile, in space, Captain Amy Foster was flying another mission designed to fool the aliens. Her old cargo ship moved slowly between Earth and the Moon, carrying supplies to what appeared to be a struggling shipyard. She knew alien scouts were following her just like always. This is Transport 7 to Moon Base, she said into her radio, making sure the aliens could hear her. I'm carrying the last of our steel supplies. After this, we'll have to wait 3 weeks for the next delivery from Earth. She was actually carrying empty containers, but the aliens didn't know that. They recorded every word she said and reported it back to Kelthek. The War Prime was building a detailed picture of human industrial capacity, and Amy was helping paint that picture exactly how Earth wanted it to look. Back on Earth, General Kevin Clark was having a fake argument with President Helen Martinez. In the White House, they knew alien listening devices were recording their conversation, so they put on a good show. Madam President, we simply don't have the resources to build a proper defense fleet, Kevin said loudly. Our military budget is already stretched to the limit. Helen played her part perfectly. General, we have to find a way. Can't we use civilian ships for defense? Civilian ships would be useless against alien weapons. We need military-grade vessels, and we can only build them so fast. At this rate, we'll have maybe 60 ships ready when the aliens attack. The conversation continued for an hour, with both leaders discussing their supposed limitations and resource problems. Hidden alien recording devices captured every word and transmitted them to the Zephyrian Fleet. Keltek read the transcript with great interest. 60 ships would be the maximum human force, and even those would be poorly equipped. He began planning his invasion with complete confidence. Dr. Peter Johnson was having the time of his life staging fake weapons tests for alien spies. Today he was demonstrating a new human laser cannon that was supposed to be their most advanced weapon. Of course, the test was designed to fail in a spectacular way. The laser fired once, created a small explosion, and then shut down completely. Peter ran around the test site with his assistants, pretending to be confused and frustrated. The hidden alien observers recorded everything and reported another human technology failure. What the aliens didn't know was that Peter had a dozen much more powerful weapons, already built and hidden in secret facilities. The failed laser was actually an old design from 20 years ago that Earth no longer used. But to the aliens, it looked like the best humans could manage in his underground command center. Danny Wright was coordinating with military leaders around the world. They were all part of the same deception, making it look like Earth's defenses were weak and disorganized. Colonel, the European Union is reporting that their shipyard suffered another setback, reported Major Kate Williams, his second-in-command. They're telling their people it will take 6 more months to complete their new destroyer. Perfect, Danny said. And what about the Asian Defense Coalition? They're pretending to have problems with their weapon systems. They held a press conference yesterday complaining about technical difficulties. Danny was impressed by how well the plan was working. Every major human government was playing their part. making it seem like Earth was struggling to defend itself. The aliens were watching all of it and believing every word. Captain Amy Foster was making another supply run when she encountered a group of Zephyrian scout ships. This was exactly what she had been hoping for. She let them scan her cargo and even pretended to be frightened by their presence. "Please don't hurt us," she said over the radio. "We're just carrying food and medical supplies to our workers." The alien commander responded in broken English. "Human female, your species will soon serve the Empire. Prepare for conquest." Amy acted scared and flew away quickly, but she was actually smiling inside her helmet. The aliens were so confident that they were getting careless. They had no idea what was really coming. On the Zephyrian command ship, Kelthik was meeting with his fleet commanders. They were finalizing plans for the invasion of Earth, and everyone was feeling optimistic. "The humans have 60 ships at most," Kelthik told his officers. "Their weapons are primitive, and their pilots are poorly trained. We'll bring 800 vessels to make sure we crush them completely." Commander Zelfin, an experienced warrior, raised a concern. "Sir, isn't 800 ships excessive for such a weak enemy? We usually use that many ships to conquer major civilizations." Kelthik waved his hand dismissively. "Better to be certain of victory? The Galactic Council expects quick results. We'll destroy the human fleet in a few hours and then begin occupation procedures." The other commanders nodded in agreement. They had all seen the intelligence reports about human weakness and industrial limitations. This would be an easy conquest, just like dozens of others they had completed. What none of them realized was that every piece of intelligence they had gathered was carefully crafted by human military planners. Earth's real strength remained completely hidden, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal itself. The trap was set, and the aliens were walking straight into it. The Zephyrian invasion fleet moved slowly through space toward Earth. 800 massive ships filled the darkness, their dark metal surfaces reflecting the light from distant stars. War Prime Kelthik stood on his command bridge, feeling confident about the coming battle. "Sir, we'll reach the human homeworld in 6 hours," reported his navigation officer. "Our scouts confirm that the humans have positioned their entire fleet around their planet." Kelthik looked at the display screen showing Earth surrounded by tiny dots representing human ships. He counted them carefully. 59 vessels, just as his intelligence had predicted. The humans were making their final stand with everything they had. "Pathetic," Kelthik said to his officers. "They're trying to protect their world with those tiny ships. This will be over quickly." On Earth's orbital defense station, Admiral Lisa Rodriguez was watching the alien fleet approach on her screens. She sat calmly in her command chair, but her heart was beating fast. Everything depended on the next few hours. "Admiral," the alien fleet will be in weapons range soon, said her communications officer, Lieutenant Tom Bradley. "Should we contact our ships?" Lisa shook her head. "Not yet, Tom. Wait for my signal." Hidden throughout the solar system, thousands of human ships waited in complete silence. They had been stationed behind asteroids, moons, and space stations for months, all running on minimal power to avoid detection. Their crews were ready, but they needed perfect timing. Admiral Carlos Rivera floated in the command center of his flagship, hidden behind Jupiter's largest moon. His ship was 10 times bigger than anything the aliens had seen, equipped with weapons that could destroy entire enemy fleets. Around him, 300 other vessels waited for orders. "Sir, we're receiving the standby signal from Earth," reported his tactical officer, Captain Nicole Thompson. Nicole was a combat veteran who had been planning this moment for 2 years. "Good," Carlos said quietly. "Tell all ships to prepare for combat. When we move fast." Back near Earth, the Zephyrian fleet was getting closer. Kelthik opened a communication channel to the human ships, expecting them to surrender immediately when they saw his massive force. "Humans, this is War Prime Kelthik. You are facing the might of the Zephyrian Empire. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick." Captain Ryan Hayes, commanding the human flagship near Earth, responded with a steady voice. "This is Captain Hayes of the Earth Defense Force. We don't surrender to anyone. If you want our planet, come and take it, Kelthik laughed. The humans were still acting brave even when facing impossible odds. He had seen this before with other species. They always talked tough until the shooting started. Very well, humans. You have chosen death. All ships, attack formation. Destroy the human fleet. The Zephyrian ships spread out and began moving toward Earth's defenders. Their powerful weapons started charging, creating an eerie blue glow across the alien fleet. It looked like certain doom for the small human force, but Admiral Lisa Rodriguez was smiling. She pressed a button on her command console and spoke into her microphone. This is Earth Command to all units. Execute Operation Thunder. Repeat, execute Operation Thunder. The message went out instantly to every corner of the solar system. Hidden human fleets received the signal and immediately powered up their engines and weapons. What happened next would change the course of galactic history forever. The space around Earth suddenly erupted with light as thousands of human ships decloaked at the same time. They appeared from behind asteroids, from the dark side of the moon, from hidden positions throughout the system. The alien fleet found themselves completely surrounded. Kelthik stared at his screens in complete shock. Where there had been empty space moments before, there were now massive human warships everywhere he looked. His tactical computer was frantically trying to count them all. Sir, we're detecting over 10,000 human vessels, his sensor operator said in a shaking voice. They're surrounding us from all directions. That's impossible, Kelthik shouted. Our intelligence said they only had 60 ships total. Admiral Carlos Rivera's voice came over the communication channel, calm and confident. War Prime Kelthik, this is Admiral Rivera of the Terran Space Command. You are now surrounded by the 3rd Fleet of the Human Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to surrender. 3rd Fleet? Kelthik said in confusion. How many fleets do you have? More than you can count, Carlos replied. 29 seconds. The alien commander looked around his bridge at his terrified officers. His 800 ships suddenly seemed very small compared to the thousands of human vessels pointing weapons at them. These weren't the primitive ships his scouts had observed. These were massive warships with advanced armor and weapon systems. General Marcus Webb was coordinating the battle from his command ship on the far side of the solar system. He watched as his carefully planned trap closed around the alien fleet. 17 different battle groups were moving into position, each one larger than the entire force the aliens had brought. All units, prepare to fire on my command, Marcus said into his radio. Remember, we want prisoners if possible. Try to disable their engines first. Colonel Sharon Davis was leading a squadron of fighter ships that had just appeared from behind an asteroid field. Her small, fast vessels surrounded the alien fleet like angry bees around a much larger opponent. Colonel Davis to all fighters, she said to her pilots. Stay close to the big ships and watch for escape attempts. Don't let any of them get away. Captain Tony Martinez commanded a heavy destroyer that had been hiding in Earth's shadow. His ship's weapons were fully charged and ready to fire. He had been waiting months for this moment. Sir, should we fire a warning shot? Asked his weapons officer. Not yet, Tony replied. Let's see if they're smart enough to surrender first. War Prime Kelthik was frantically trying to understand what had happened. His intelligence reports had been completely wrong. The humans hadn't shown him their defense fleet. They had shown him their local patrol ships and made him think that was everything. All ships prepare to retreat, Kelthik ordered his fleet. We need to get out of here and report this to the Empire. But as his ships tried to turn around, they found more human vessels blocking every escape route. The trap was perfect. There was nowhere to run. War Prime, we're receiving surrender demands from multiple human commanders, his communications officer reported. They're giving us 60 seconds to respond. Kelthik looked at his tactical display one more time. His 800 ships were facing over 10,000 human vessels, and more were still appearing from hidden positions. The humans had weapons he had never seen before and technology that seemed more advanced than anything in the Zephyrian Empire. Sir, what are your orders? asked Commander Zelthan, his second in command. Kelthik closed his eyes for a moment. In his long military career, he had never faced a situation like this. He had walked into a trap so complete and so well planned that resistance was impossible. "Open a channel to the human admiral," he said quietly. Admiral Carlos Rivera appeared on Kelthik's main screen. The human officer looked calm and professional, like someone who had been planning this moment for a very long time. "War Prime Kelthik, have you made your decision?" Carlos asked. "Admiral Rivera, I surrender my fleet to your forces. But I must ask you one question. The ships we fought 3 months ago, and the fleet we observed around your planet, that wasn't your real military, was it?" Carlos smiled slightly. "War Prime, what you saw was our local defense patrol and some training vessels. This is the 3rd fleet of our Deep Space Command. We have 12 other fleets of similar size positioned throughout human space." Kelthik felt his blood turn cold. 12 other fleets, each one with 10,000 ships. The humans had over 100,000 warships, maybe more. His empire had made a terrible mistake. "We thought your species was primitive," Kelthik said quietly. "We wanted you to think that," Carlos replied. "Now power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Welcome to human space, War Prime. I hope you learn to like it here." As the Zephyrian ships shut down their systems and prepared for capture, news of the battle began spreading across the galaxy through their emergency communication networks. The message was simple but terrifying. The humans had been hiding there true strength, and it was far greater than anyone had imagined. The news spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within hours of the Zephyrian defeat, emergency messages were flying between star systems. The impossible had happened. A species that everyone thought was primitive had just destroyed one of the most powerful fleets in the galaxy, on the planet Andromeda Prime. High Counselor Zethran was reading the reports with growing horror. The Andromedans had been the dominant species in their sector for over 1,000 years. They controlled 50 star systems and had never been seriously challenged by anyone. "This has to be a mistake," Zethran said to his military advisors. "The humans were supposed to be a new species with primitive technology. How could they have over 100,000 warships?" General Vorthek, the Andromedan military commander, was studying the battle recordings that had been transmitted by fleeing Zephyrian ships. "Sir, I've watched these videos 10 times. The human vessels are using technology we've never seen before. Their weapons are more powerful than ours, and their ships are faster." Zethran felt fear creeping into his mind. If the humans could defeat the Zephyrians so easily, what would happen when they turned their attention to other species? The Andromedans had always believed they were safe because of their advanced technology and strong military. Now that safety seemed like an illusion. "Send messages to all our colonies," Zethran ordered. "Tell them to prepare their defenses immediately, and cancel all exploration missions in human space." Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Luis Garcia was interrogating captured Zephyrian officers in a secure facility. He wanted to understand exactly how big the galactic community was and what other threats might be out there. War Prime. Kelthik sat across from Luis in a simple metal chair. The alien commander looked tired and defeated. His proud attitude from before the battle was completely gone. "Tell me about the other species in your empire," Luis said calmly. "How many civilizations are we dealing with?" Kelthik looked up at the human admiral. "The Zephyrian Empire includes over 200 species across 10,000 star systems. But we're not the only major power. There are dozens of other empires and federations throughout the galaxy." Luis made notes on his tablet. This was valuable information that Earth's leaders needed to know. What about military strength? How many ships do these other powers have? "The largest empires have fleets of maybe 5,000 ships," Kelthik replied. "The Zephyrians were considered one of the strongest military forces in the galaxy. If you can defeat us so easily, no one else will be able to stop you." This was exactly what Luis had been afraid of. Earth's military planners had built their fleets to defend against unknown threats, but they had accidentally created a force that was stronger than anything else in the galaxy across the galaxy. Panic was spreading to every inhabited world. On the trading planet of Nexus 7, alien merchants were abandoning their businesses and fleeing home to their families. The Galactic Trade Federation, which had maintained peace and commerce for centuries, was falling apart as member species recalled their ships and closed their borders. Commander Julia Stevens was leading Earth's first diplomatic mission to the Centauri Alliance, a group of peaceful species that controlled 30 star systems. She had expected to have friendly negotiations about trade and cultural exchange. Instead, she found herself facing terrified aliens who thought she was the advance scout for a human invasion. "Please, Commander Stevens," said Prime Minister Kelvon. "Of the Centaurians, we surrender our worlds to human control. Just don't destroy our cities." Julia was shocked by this reaction. She had come to make friends, not conquer anyone. "Prime Minister, we're not here to conquer you. We want to establish peaceful relations and maybe set up trade agreements." Kelvon looked at her with confusion and fear. "But the reports say humans have hundreds of thousands of warships. Why would you need so many ships if not for conquest?" "We built those ships to defend ourselves," Julia explained. "We didn't know what was out there in the galaxy, so we prepared for the worst possible threats. We're not planning to attack anyone." But Kelvon didn't seem convinced. The idea of a species building such a massive military just for defense was hard for him to understand. Most galactic civilizations only built what they needed to maintain order in their own territory, on Earth. Dr. Angela Moore was studying captured Zephyrian technology in her laboratory. What she found was disturbing. The aliens' most advanced weapons were actually less powerful than equipment that Earth considered outdated. "This is incredible," Angela said to her research team. "Their main battle lasers are weaker than the defense systems we installed on our cargo ships 5 years ago." Her assistant, Dr. Bob Chun, was examining a Zephyrian computer system. "Dr. Moore, look at this. Their navigation computers are using technology that's at least 50 years behind our current systems." Angela realized that Earth's rapid technological development had put them far ahead of the rest of the galaxy. While other species had advanced slowly over thousands of years, humans had made incredible progress in just a few decades. "We need to tell the government about this," Angela said. "If our old technology is better than their best weapons, we might be the most advanced civilization in the galaxy." The news was getting worse for other galactic powers. On the planet Zephyr, the Zephyrian homeworld, Emperor Malthan was meeting with his council in emergency session. They had just lost their most powerful fleet and their best military commander. "Your Majesty, we're receiving surrender messages from dozens of our colony worlds," reported Minister Valthan. "They think human invasion fleets are already on the way." Emperor Malthan slammed his fist on the table. "This is disaster. We spent centuries building our empire, and now it's collapsing because of one battle. Sir, perhaps we should consider offering an alliance to the humans," suggested General Korthak. "If we can't beat them, maybe we can join them." The Emperor looked around the room at his advisors. They all nodded in agreement. It was a humiliating decision, but it might be the only way to save their civilization. Meanwhile, ancient species that had dominated the galaxy for millions of years were also feeling the pressure. The Eternal Collective, a group of energy beings who had conquered thousands of worlds, was holding their first emergency meeting in 10,000 years. "The organic species called humans have upset the balance of power," said Elder Nexus, their leader. "Their military strength exceeds our own by a significant margin. Should we consider them a threat?" asked Elder Vortex. "Unknown. Their diplomatic messages suggest peaceful intentions, but their actions show they are capable of destroying any opposition. We must observe them carefully." Back on Earth, President Helen Martinez was dealing with a crisis she had never imagined. Her phone was ringing constantly with messages from alien governments. Some were surrendering, others were asking for protection, and a few were requesting immediate alliance agreements. "Madam President, we have 47 different species asking to join a human alliance," said her secretary, Margaret Davis, "and that's just today's messages." Helen rubbed her temples. She had planned for Earth to slowly introduce itself to the galactic community. Instead, they had accidentally become the dominant military power overnight. Set up meetings with our top diplomats, Helen said. We need to figure out how to handle this situation without making things worse. General. Kevin Clark walked into the president's office with more reports. Ma'am, our intelligence suggests that several major galactic powers are already planning to surrender to us, even though we haven't made any hostile moves toward them. What about species that might still want to fight us? Helen asked. Kevin shook his head. According to the Zephyrian prisoners, there's no one left with the military strength to challenge us. We accidentally built the most powerful military force in galactic history. As the fourth day after the battle ended, the galaxy had completely changed. Trade routes were abandoned, governments were collapsing, and entire civilizations were begging for human protection. The balance of power that had existed for thousands of years was gone, replaced by a new reality where Earth was the dominant force, and the humans were just beginning to understand what that meant. 6 months after the Great Revelation, the galaxy looked completely different. President Helen Martinez stood before the United Nations General Assembly, but this time she wasn't just addressing Earth's leaders. Holographic projectors showed her speech to representatives from over 300 alien species across the galaxy. Ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all kinds, Helen began, today we establish the Galactic Protection Alliance. This organization will ensure peace and security for all member species, regardless of their size or technological level. The alien representatives watched nervously from their homeworlds. Most of them had never imagined they would be joining an alliance led by a species they had never heard of just 6 months ago. But after seeing what happened to the Zephyrian Empire, none of them wanted to be on humanity's bad side. Admiral Lisa Rodriguez had been promoted to head of Terran Space Command, the new organization that managed human military operations across multiple star systems. Her office was now located on a massive space station that orbited Earth, and her responsibilities had grown beyond anything she had ever imagined. Admiral, we're receiving another request for protection, said her aide, Commander Steve Parker. The Rigel Federation is being threatened by space pirates, and they want us to send a patrol fleet. Lisa looked at the star map on her wall. Red dots showed human fleets positioned throughout the galaxy, providing security for dozens of different species. Blue dots marked new colonies that humans were establishing on uninhabited worlds. The expansion was happening faster than anyone had planned. Send the 5th Patrol Group, Lisa ordered. And make sure they understand this is a peacekeeping mission, not a conquest. Jake Morrison, the captain who had first encountered the Zephyrians, was now Fleet Admiral Morrison. He commanded the 7th Deep Space Fleet from his flagship, a vessel 10 times bigger than his old patrol ship. His job was to explore new regions of the galaxy and make contact with species that hadn't yet heard about humanity. Admiral, we're approaching the Vega system, reported his navigation officer, Lieutenant Sandra Cole. Our sensors show a civilization. With early space travel technology, Jake smiled. This was the part of his job he enjoyed most. Instead of pretending to be weak like they had with the Zephyrians, humans could now be honest about their capabilities while still being friendly and helpful. Open a communication channel, Jake ordered. This is Fleet Admiral Morrison of the Terran Space Command. We come in peace and would like to establish diplomatic relations with your people. The response came quickly, but it was filled with fear. Please don't destroy our world. We surrender to the human empire. Jake sighed. This happened almost every time they made first contact now. We're not here to conquer anyone. We're explorers and peacekeepers. Would you like to talk about establishing trade relations and cultural exchange? On the former Zephyrian homeworld, War Prime Kelthek was working as a military advisor to the new human administrators. It was a strange situation for him, but he had to admit that the humans were much better rulers than his own species had been. Kelthek, what do you think about this proposal for rebuilding the damaged colonies? Asked Commander Bill Foster, the human officer in charge of Zephyrian reconstruction. Kelthek studied the plans carefully. The humans were offering to help rebuild worlds that the Zephyrian Empire had conquered and exploited for centuries. They were also giving those worlds the choice to become independent or join the new alliance. "This is very generous," Kelphic said. "My people would have simply taken the resources and left the colonies to fend for themselves. Why are humans willing to spend so much to help species you barely know?" Bill shrugged. "It's the right thing to do. Besides, peaceful neighbors are better for everyone in the long run." This was something Kelphic was still trying to understand. The humans had the military power to conquer the entire galaxy if they wanted to, but instead they were using their strength to protect weaker species and rebuild damaged worlds. Dr. Angela Moore was now running the Galactic Technology Exchange, a program that shared human scientific knowledge with other species while learning about their discoveries. Her laboratory had become a meeting place for the greatest minds from hundreds of different worlds. Dr. Moore, the Andromedan scientist, have made a breakthrough in crystal-based computing, reported her assistant Dr. Carol Kim. They want to share it with us in exchange for our medical technology. Angela was excited by the possibilities. Excellent. Set up a video conference with their research team. This kind of cooperation is exactly what we hoped for. The exchange of knowledge was benefiting everyone. Human medical technology was saving millions of lives on alien worlds, while alien discoveries were helping humans solve problems they had struggled with for years. Captain Amy Foster, who had spent months pretending to fly slow cargo ships, was now commanding a diplomatic vessel that traveled between star systems. Her job was to help new species adjust to the reality of human dominance and find their place in the new galactic order. "Captain, we're approaching the Tau Ceti system," said her pilot, Lieutenant Gregstone. The local government requested a meeting about joining the alliance. Amy had handled dozens of these meetings, and they usually followed the same pattern. The aliens would be nervous and scared, expecting humans to make unreasonable demands. Then they would be surprised when the alliance terms were actually quite fair. "Remember, everyone," Amy told her crew, "we're here to help them, not control them. Let them make their own decisions about how they want to participate." Meanwhile, in the deepest parts of space, human construction crews were building something that would shock the galaxy even more. Admiral Carlos Rivera was overseeing the project from his command ship, watching as thousands of worker vessels assembled massive structures around several different stars. "Sir, the shipyards are ahead of schedule," reported his chief engineer, Captain Nicole Thompson. "We'll be able to start production on the new fleet within 3 months." Carlos nodded with satisfaction. The galaxy thought humanity's current fleet was impossibly large, but they were actually building an even bigger one. Not for conquest, but to ensure that no future threat could endanger the peace they had established. "How many ships will we be able to produce per month once everything is operational?" Carlos asked. "About 5,000, sir. All classes from patrol vessels to heavy battleships." This was the secret that would complete humanity's transformation into the galaxy's protector. They weren't just maintaining their current strength. They were expanding it to levels that other species couldn't even imagine. President Martinez was meeting with her top advisors to discuss the future of human expansion. The galaxy was now mostly at peace, but there were still unexplored regions where unknown threats might exist. "Madam President, our scouts have detected signs of a large civilization beyond the galactic rim," reported General Marcus Webb. "They appear to have technology similar to our own." Helen considered this news carefully. "Are they hostile?" "Unknown. They haven't responded to our communication attempts, but they also haven't made any aggressive moves. Keep monitoring them, but don't approach yet. If there's another advanced species out there, we need to be prepared for any possibility." As the first anniversary of the Zephyrian defeat approached, the galaxy had settled into its new reality. Humans provided protection and aid to hundreds of species, while those species contributed their own knowledge and resources to the Alliance, but the biggest surprise was still to come. Dr. Peter Johnson, who had spent months staging fake weapons failures, was now ready to reveal humanity's latest achievement. He stood before a gathering of alien scientists and military leaders in Earth's largest conference center. "My friends," Peter began, "for the past year, you've all been wondering about the true extent of human military capability. You've seen our fleets, you've witnessed our technology, and you've watched us establish peace across the galaxy." The alien representatives listened nervously. They still weren't entirely comfortable with human power, even though it had been used benevolently so far. "Today I can tell you that everything you've seen, every ship in our fleets, every weapon in our arsenal, represents approximately 15% of our total military capacity." The silence in the room was complete. Even the Zephyrian representatives, who thought they understood human deception, were stunned by this revelation. "You see," Peter continued with a slight smile, "we're still building. The shipyards you've observed are just the ones we've allowed you to see. Our actual construction capacity is far larger, and it's growing every day." War Prime Kelthic, who was attending as an advisor, finally understood the full scope of what his empire had tried to challenge. The humans hadn't just hidden their military strength during the deception. They had been continuously expanding it even while fighting the war. "The galaxy is now at peace," Peter concluded, "and we intend to keep it that way. Any species anywhere in the universe that threatens that peace will discover that they're facing a force beyond their comprehension." As the meeting ended, the alien representatives returned to their worlds. One truth echoed across the galaxy: humanity had not only become the dominant power, but they were still growing stronger.